Hi! Welcome to this part of my review featuring Nightcrawlers. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review featuring this splatterpunk horror game where you are the monsters, you are the outcasts, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about combat and hazards. First, let's talk about initiative. Unless surprise for a side is determined at the start of combat, everyone must be sorted into an order, so they get to act and react in turn. Every character tests their nerve. Those that succeed take their turn before the enemies. They must then act as a group, deciding their own order for actions. Those that fail their nerve test go after their enemies. If one side is surprised, the opposing side gets a free round of actions before rolling initiative. During a player's turn, a character may move and perform an action. It doesn't matter what they do first. They could attack, look for a clue, talk with a non-player character, use an edge. Interacting with the world is an action. Often they will test their stats to determine the outcome. When a character attacks an enemy, they must roll below their muscle stat for a melee attack or their nerve for a ranged attack. Likewise, when an enemy attacks, the character must roll below their muscle against a melee attack and nerve against a ranged attack to avoid taking damage. The city planner or game master will usually give the stat required for the test. The damage an attack deals is based on the character's brood or the number of hit dice a non-player character has. Damage is reduced by a character's armor points as determined by the armor or natural or unnatural armor, and then subtracted from hit points. To make a melee attack, the opponent must be close. Ranged attacks against close enemies are possible, but the attacker suffers disadvantage. Ranged attacks can't be made beyond far away. When a character is standing behind cover, the player has advantage on nerve tests made to avoid ranged attacks. If an enemy is in cover, the player has disadvantage on ranged attacks against the enemy. Larger, more deadly weapons or a weapon in each hand are handled simply by adding a +2 to any dice rolled with them. They deal additional damage, but are harder to hit with. Melee weapons that require finesse rather than brute strength allow you to make melee attacks with nerve instead of muscle. A character can fire firearms on full automatic. This increases the damage by a bonus, but also adds a modifier to the attack roll and increases the usage die from 1 to 2 to 1 to 4. That means it's easier to waste ammo when doing that sort of attack. If a player making an attack rolls a 1, they double the result of the damage dice they roll. If they roll a 20 instead, when avoiding an attack, they take double damage. Armor points are used normally in this case. When a character is reduced to 0 hit points, they are splattered. They are considered unconscious and cannot make any actions. When the fight is over and/or the characters are out of danger, a character that is splattered rolls a d8 on the splatter table to see what happens to them. If they survive, they gain a number of hit points immediately. If the characters lose the fight or are unable to recover the body of a character, their character is lost forever. When it comes to the splatter table results, you could obtain things such as rattled, brains, guts, and blood are temporarily reduced for the next day. Or maybe you obtain fucked up. 3 random stats are permanently reduced by 2. When it comes to healing, characters can gain hit points several different ways. They can never gain more than their maximum and can never go below 0. When healing a character who has been splattered, just start at 0 and count up. That character is now back on their feet and no longer splattered. Concerning resting, when characters rest during the day, they may roll 1 hit die associated with their brood and regain that many hit points. They may also roll their power die after a round of concentration to heal 1 hit die worth of damage. This healing is considered supernatural and can heal extreme injury at the city planner's discretion. Let's talk about hazards. You have details on drugs and addiction. All drugs take effect immediately after they have been used and last for 1d6 blissful minutes. When the effect wears off, you will have disadvantage to all brains and guts tests for the following hour. If any one drug is used more than once per day, a flesh test must be passed or the user becomes addicted. An addict must take one hit every 8 hours or get disadvantage to all brains, guts and blood tests. Drugs are normally easy to come by, and the pricing depends entirely on the supply and demand, but they normally cost around $100 a dose. You have several drugs here such as Galaxy, Roids, Sparkle, all with different effects. Poisons and diseases come in many different forms. Most require a passed flesh test to resist and or neutralize, with diseases allowing a test each week to overcome the illness. So you have different examples, such as a paralyzing poison, influenza, hallucinogenic, the rot. Now concerning reputation, whenever a character performs a notable deed and people hear about it, the city planner may give them a point of reputation. Reputation is added to a character's blood score whenever it would be relevant to an interaction. Reputation can never go above 5 or below 0. The city planner can also cause reputation to go down with shitty behavior. Higher reputation also attracts the attention of forces who could see the character as a potential threat. When it comes to fear and freaking out, when encountered with a terrifying or gruesome situation, characters must immediately make a guts test. If they succeed, they may continue to act as normal, but if they fail, they freak out. At the start of their turn, they must roll on the freak out table, and at the end of their turn, they may make a guts test to overcome and act normally. This continues until they make a successful gut test. So you could obtain results such as rooted, you cannot move this turn, or maybe life before your eyes. Flesh is reduced by 2 permanently. Then we have information on chases. Car chases are handled similarly to combat. The driver or drivers roll initiative against the opponent, as does any target that is attacking. If successful, the characters go before their opponents, and those that fail go after. When a chase starts, the city planner determines the arbitrary length between the cars, let's say 5. The character or driver must succeed on a nerve test. If successful, they gain 1 number in distance, either moving farther away from the opponent if they are being chased, or 1 number closer if they are doing the chasing. If the driver fails the roll, they lose 1 number in distance, allowing their opponent to gain on them or move further away in the chase. When the counter is at 0, the cars have caught up and the chase is over. If the counter reaches 10, that means the car being chased has escaped. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part we're going to talk about powers and enemies. Beautiful system. Truly, I really enjoy the Black Hack engine because it's so simple, so streamlined, but at the same time there are some details and nuances. In the case of combat, you do have some options, just enough strategic depth and tactics. And concerning hazards, you have those advantages when it comes to drugs, but you have the drawbacks of addiction. You have the different negative modifiers and penalties applied by poison and disease. When it comes to your reputation, you need to think about what you are doing, what you are saying, how others will consider your character after such actions. You also have the effects of fear and freaking out. Even though you are monsters in this role-playing game, and some are humans, you still encounter many horrifying situations potentially. And I really like how chases are handled. In some other systems, chases are somewhat complicated, but here it is very simple. So, while still being a beer and pretzels sort of RPG, it's still quite enjoyable when it comes to the options and factors within gameplay. Thank you for watching this part of the review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending drive-thru RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.